Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Sylvia Hooks, Head of Product and Solutions Marketing here at HPE, and I'm thrilled that I'm joined today by Rowell Dionicio from Stanford University. Welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, we're very excited to talk to you more about Mist, and I know that you were the guy who selected it for Stanford. So tell me why you chose Mist.
Yeah, there was a number of factors that drove us towards Mist. I think the biggest one was how much insight it would give us on the network. There was a lot of missing information that we had when it was coming to troubleshooting with end users or devices. And we just wanted more information, and Mist, after seeing it in different presentations, was able to provide that.
Okay. So when you were making that decision, was there anything that really stood out to you that you would remember?
Yeah, a lot of times I look at features and technology, but what really stood out to me were the people who were there telling me about the product and about the different benefits that we get out of it. They were so passionate about what they were building that drew me in a little bit more. Because when I speak to others and they talk about their technology, if they're not passionate about it and they can't speak to it at such a high level, then it kind of draws me away. But the folks that I was talking to really helped motivate me and made me excited about what was coming down the pipeline.
That's really interesting insight because I was thinking that this morning coming in about why do people choose the solutions that they do. And I was wondering if people are actually aware that the reason they're choosing is the people. And it sounds
Yeah.
like you are
Yeah.
quite aware.
A lot of times when I look at who's going to help support us when it comes to the technology, I want to know who's behind that. Who am I making a phone call to? Who am I emailing with? Because if they're unable to be a partner with us or at least help us in some capacity, then it's probably not a solution I would go with because I would feel left out.
You're building a long-term relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. All right. So when we look at the technology rather than the people, it's evolved a little bit over time. Is there anything new in the technology that stands out to you as interesting?
Yeah, the most interesting to me would be AI. I think it's top of mind of everybody right now, but not just using AI, but building AI. So building on top of what other people have made with AI, especially with Marvis, having to build on top of that and integrate other technologies that we use internally into AI. So AI is something I'm very interested in.
Yeah.
I'm not a I wouldn't say I'm an AI expert. I'm a engineer, but being interested in it is just part of being an engineer. So I feel like I'm becoming more of an AI evangelist.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. I would never claim to be good at it, but I'm getting my hands dirty now.
Yeah,
Okay, so we were talking earlier about self-driving cars.
yeah,
And so that concept is a little bit unnerving, I think,
yeah.
for the first time especially. So what makes, like, where do you cross the line? When is it visibility or event correlation? And when is it truly self-driving, self-configuring?
Yeah, I feel that self-driving, it would just do it for me entirely, everything. I know we're getting there, and there are certain points of automation and AI that it could do certain things, but it's not fully self-driving, not yet. But I think we're going to get to that point. For me, it's more about how can, as a team member, leverage AI and be AI empowered in order to do something on the network and correlate other technologies that touch the network.
Yeah, I think at HPE we talk about how you can use HI to be a more efficient human
Yes.
rather than not needing the human, for example.
Yeah, I feel like the human will always have to be there.
Yeah.
AI, we think about it as robots, right? Robots doing things. And even as I look at AI and build AI for my own, it's trying to put a personality or persona to the AI so I don't feel like I'm talking to a robot. But I feel like human in that loop will always be required. There are certain aspects to our workflows that just require a human to check. And I feel that they're great assistants in what we want to achieve, what we want to get done. It can get things done so much faster than what I would typically do, especially if I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to troubleshoot an issue. And, I'm just trying to clear my eyes and understand what's happening. But if I was given a large amount of logs to look at, I can have AI help me sift through that and really point out the things I should be looking at.
Okay, so aside from helping you at 2 a.m. And that's a good one, what are the other benefits that you're seeing from using Mist?
I think there's a whole ton of benefits that endless to name right now. For me, it's correlating an issue that somebody had, an end user who may have had an issue with their virtual conferencing. And then with everyone pointing issues towards the network, that's always going to be the case. And so I already accept that. But it's diving in deeper and saying, all right, if this person had an issue, where did they have it? Was it the device? Was it the Wi-Fi? Was it on our wired network? Was it the core, or was it the WAN? Something on the internet. And I just need to be able to give them a response. So the benefit for me with Mist is being able to explain something to a user and have them understand what I'm telling them, but not so much in a technical way or technical jargon. To me, that's the biggest benefit, is being able to give them information and say, here's what's happened, and here's what I'm going to do next.
I feel like a lot of vendors might claim to do that though, right? So what makes it different on the Mist side?
On the Mist side, I think what I believe is you guys have put it together from the ground up. It's built into the whole dashboard, into the technology. What I've seen from other vendors, it's always an add-on. It wasn't thought of first. Even when it comes to API capabilities, I've seen vendors where they added that after the fact. And when I've used something like that, it just truly didn't feel like AI. It just felt like I was using somebody else's server to kind of put things together. And so what I'm looking for when it comes to AI and automation and scripting is something that can be used across not just Wi-Fi, but the network, the routing, even the WAN.
Okay, you mentioned that you were building agentic capabilities. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. I won't claim to be an expert at building agentic AI. I am very interested in it, and I've gone and spent a lot of my own personal time just trying to learn how agentic AI works. Even to the point where I was a skeptic even before when AI first came out. My background is really in Wi-Fi, and when early on using AI, it just wasn't very good at Wi-Fi, but then I learned of how it learned about Wi-Fi. So if I gave it the right sources, the right information, it started to get better. And so as we go to agentic AI, I'm starting to think of agentic AI as being someone that could help me do things as I do another thing in parallel. So if I'm trying to think about troubleshooting, I can have that agentic AI go and query something, retrieve something while I go and troubleshoot another aspect of it that I want to take control of. And so when I start thinking about AI, I have to think about outside of my comfort zone as a network engineer or a Wi-Fi architect, and look at AI and infrastructure and LLMs. Like, it's all very new to me.
Yeah.
But it's exciting.
It is
And
exciting.
I find that it helps me in what I do.
I love that. And I think, we've all been experimenting with AI, and there's some things it's really good at. Like I made about 10 agents. I'm not going to lie, only 2 actually work, right? So you kind of start to see what they're good at and what they're not good at. And so when I think about the collective telemetry and the size of the LLM that Mist has, and now we've added in the Aruba Central stuff too.
Yeah.
That is such a huge amount of information to inform the automation that you're trying to build.
It is, and I think that's where we're at the cusp of this technology. Is we have agentic AI, but I know context memory is such a challenge right now, and especially when you build multiple agents, how do the agents know about each other, and how do they share that knowledge of information? And so that's where I'm at right now in my journey with agentic AI, and learning how to build that memory with all the agents, and what to do when an agent starts to go, I don't know, hallucinating with certain things. And so to me, it's almost like I'm speaking to another human. And so when I use agentic AI or AI in general, I treat it like I'm talking to another person. And it's gonna, when I explain this to people, it's just garbage in, garbage out. If I give it really good information, I get a much better response back. But if I give it something pretty vague, it's gonna give me something pretty vague back.
What are some of the agents that you're building? What is the automation you're after?
Yeah, so the agents that I'm looking at, there's multiple ones, but the ones that come to my mind right now would be something like a knock level agent. Kind of like that 2 o'clock in the morning thing, what's happening. By the time I wake up, I would like to have a ticket generated by this agent. It collected information. Now, if this agent is just more of a knock level, I have it expertise to a knock. Now, if it needs to go and say, oh, this looks like a Wi-Fi issue, I might have another agent that's more of a Wi-Fi expert and start digging into that, but still be able to update the ticket. And then if it needs to go into the network, in the core and the switching, then I have an agent that can do that, but also an agent that's very good at formulating the ticket and then bringing up all the information I need to help find the root cause faster at 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's really what I'm after right now. That's my goal.
Does Mist help you with that?
It does. And a lot of the ideas came from Marvis. as I used Marvis and as the team integrated Marvis, even with its own documentation, to me, that's very useful because it started making me think about how I could use agentic AI with our internal documentation. And if agentic AI can make the queries to that, talk to Marvis and integrate all together and have conversations with each other, that makes me more informed at a much faster pace.
Is that how you're like? I think everybody has to build some trust around automation and agentic
Yeah.
actions. So, what have you learned, and what advice would you give to people who are building that trust, or haven't maybe even have not started yet?
Yeah.
How do you get to a place of trust with automation?
That's a very good question because a lot of us as engineers just build a solution that works and then probably pull it back a little. And I feel that I have to build towards the trust first, build that as a core piece, right? If we talk about security, a lot of engineers will say, well, build with security in mind first. With AI, you got to build governance and trust as you build it. That should be just part of the core. And there definitely has to be a lot of guardrails. I think we've seen a lot of AIs hallucinate, but I've also seen my own AIs lie. They'll say, yeah, I'll go retrieve that for you, but it's taking too long. Well, what's going on? And so we find that we're working towards it. I think we'll eventually have a solution to something like that, but thinking at least about AI governance and the trust security guardrails and think about it in layers. And so some agents may only have access to certain things and not have access to the internet, while maybe a higher level complex task that doesn't require maybe highly sensitive data can go and query a larger public LLM, for example, and then reinform maybe the agent that doesn't have access to the internet, or at least feed the context, the memory database that it has access to.
Okay, we've talked a lot about AI and agents, which of course is what you're interested in, and me too. But for the people out there that are wondering, is the Wi-Fi good? Is the switching good? What would you say to them?
It's still a challenging thing to figure out because Wi-Fi is so complex, and I find that Wi-Fi likes to work as best as it could given the scenario it's given, especially with frequencies, physical frequencies, the space, and the devices. There's so many pieces and layers that don't talk to each other that hopefully AI can help bridge that gap. And I think if we understand how devices communicate over Wi-Fi, how Wi-Fi communicates with devices, how the network talks to each other, we start making that gap much smaller. And AI can help us do that faster.
How many years have you been working with Mist?
I want to say at least 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you moved and went to a different place, or I think you mentioned you're a consultant, would you recommend Mist?
I actually lead with Mist most of the time. So when I talk to other engineers or IT teams, I understand what they're trying to achieve. And if some of these teams are very AI focused and AI centric, and also they value the amount of insight that you get from the network, and they see it as not just a cost thing, but a partner for them to help troubleshoot, I always lead with Mist. And usually that's where I'll put in the benefits, how long it takes to figure out an issue, a root cause. Those are generally my conversations, and not always leading in with what kind of feature do we need? Like what problem are you actually trying to solve? Not just the technology problem, but also the business problem. And so if you've got a lean team, you probably need a solution that'll help you be lean versus having to have you think about expanding your team just because you are trying to meet a certain technological feature.
Do you think it's a tool for experts or amateurs or everybody in between?
Oh, I think it's for everyone in between. I've worked with our teams from a NOC level, from a help desk level, and then up at the engineering level. There's so many ways you can enter the Mist ecosystem, in that you can have a role where you could be assigned to a site, and then you know that site very well. So down to the point where Mist gives you metrics, you understand really quickly if that metric is going below your threshold. Or as an engineer, you're very good at networking. You understand how Wi-Fi works. You just want to get the details very quickly. You can do that. And then you got the people who are in the automation space. They have scripts that they want to use, and Mist has all the API capability from the Wi-Fi level to the switch level, dashboard level, lots of ways you can extend beyond the Mist dashboard.
Okay, if you had one wish list for Mist, what would it be?
That's a good question. I I usually try to roll with what Mist provides. They're very good at anticipating what some of my needs would be. I think where my wish list would be more expansion outside of Mist LLM and try to integrate with our LLM. So maybe something with MCP.
Yeah.
I know Mist has their own MCP that you can tie into, which is great. But I'm looking at maybe I can build my own MCP. I have a sequence of decision trees that I usually work with. So maybe I can leverage that and then call to the Mist dashboard when I need to,
Yeah,
or
that's pretty
Marvis.
cool. All right, I'll put in a word for you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for tuning in today. Hope you learned something. I know I did. Thanks so much.
Thank you.